Well, good morning, everyone. This is the Group 1 presentation on the Hansgrohe case study. Group 1 consists of Merve, Rita, Claire, Greta, Terita, Andreas, Mosen, Stefan, and myself. So our task was to answer two questions. The first was why digital products such as the RainTunes app are preferentially developed using an agile approach to project management. And the second task was to answer the question, what is the organizational impact to IP for products that are developed according to this project management methodology? So without further ado, I will introduce you to the first presenter of our group, who's Claire.
So hello. So to explain why the digital products like RainTunes are preferentially developed with an agile project management style, we compared both waterfall and agile approaches relative to project management. So first, in their relation to customer, so the waterfall approach is involving customer only at the last stage of the project, at testing stage, just before the product launch, while the agile approach is involving customer at early stage, really from the beginning, allowing adaptation and continuous adaptation to the customer feedback and a better fit to the customer needs in the end. So which is good when we don't know what is exactly the customer need. In terms of relations to changes, the waterfall approach has a limited ability to cope with changing requirements. Changes are seen as problems and they create delays generally, while in the agile approach, there is constant adaptation to a moving environment. So it's more adapted for, let's say, insecure environment. In terms of relation to risk, the waterfall approach has a risk aversion. They don't like unfinished items, so which are considered as failures. While the agile approach is more open to risk and experimentation and a try, fail, try again, and then succeed approach. In terms of planning, a waterfall approach is more rigid, while agile approach is more flexible and is adapting to acceleration and slowdowns. And also in terms of paperwork, reduce paperwork in the agile approach as a contrary to lots of bureaucracy for the waterfall approach. So as a conclusion, the waterfall approach is very adapted for incremental innovation when you know where you want to go, like improving the already existing shower heads or taps, while the agile approach is more adapted in an environment where you don't know exactly where to go and how to go there. So like radical innovation, like the RainTunes. Now I hand over to Merve.
Okay, after the clear summary about the difference between these two project management styles, we can say that the agile project management style is more efficient because it is easier to understand the market and create user added value due to the group having professionals from different areas. And also to create value and design driven IP, to create value driven IP to make Hansgrohe's competitive advantages sustainable and to fully exploit the dynamic capabilities of the company, because innovation and IP strategy are continuous processes. So the team can continue to adapt to the new environment and continue to work on the product, and also to exploit the first mover advantages. And now on to the next slide, please, for Claire, I think.
No, it's Rita.
Yeah.
So in this slide, we wanted to reveal and show how everything is connected. So how the different layers contribute to each other, and why actually the 360 degrees IP strategy is relevant here to understand why the right type of organization approach is something which complements to this concept. So if we remember that circle of the 360 degrees IP strategy, we see that it is in 4 parts, tackling the past, the present, the continuity, and the future. And basically, in the past, of course, Hansgrohe is a great brand with a lot of existing patents, trademarks, design rights, and this strong brand contributes to the continuity, and they should manage risks, whereas they have to create new unique selling propositions based on customer values. So we are talking about continuity and future, and they have to design the market position. And it's very important to manage innovation activities and IP with the right type of organization approach. In this case, what we saw in Hansgrohe's case with the RainTues, we see a radical innovation. Basically, this is the perception and the understanding of the customer experience, but based on the IP design agile method, so that the basic, it's a sort of user-driven, but it's also a sort of imagination what the user else could use and how they could add value. So we obviously see that the different aspects and the different theories complement each other. So what we also see is that with regards to radical innovation, we talked about this, that how important it is because of the risks to have a traditionally good brand, like the consumer acceptance is likely to be there. They can afford this kind of risk taking. So this is what's also very important to reveal here. I think I will pass on the baton to Andreas now.
So referring back to, can you hear me now? Yeah. So referring back to sort of earlier in the project as well. So Agile project management style is a design thinking process, which is sort of is what we use here. And one of the advantages of here is that we have these continuous circles that going back, so that you can always sort of review what you are doing all the way through the steps, so that you don't wait for all testing to occur. Here you have these reframing and prototyping phases where you also interact with the customers. So one of the advantages here is that in an early stage you can get sort of a working prototype, which might actually be a product as well, that will help you in the first mover advantage. And you can also, so then in an early phase, create cash flow before you even sort of have the final product. So and that is the way it's usually done in computer programming in a way. So next slide, back to Rita.
And this is basically the final conclusions on the case, like organizing to innovate, how we saw in the slides of yesterday. So what we see is that breakthrough radical innovation happens parallel with the normal incremental improvements. And waterfall and agile is not an either or question. The question is the right organization form for the relevant context, how Hansgrohe did, and to use holistic IP strategies and relevant organizational tactics enable long-term business success. And I have to tell you this very, very valid example here, that if you know Mr. Leffley, he was the visionary company leader of PG when, after the Second World War in 1945, in 2000, PG had lower revenues, and they were looking for the answer, what is missing. And Mr. Leffley has reorganized completely the innovation, how we saw here in the example of Hansgrohe, to make it really part of the organization. And what he said is that it's not the CEO who is the boss, it's not the board of directors, it's not the shareholders, the boss is the consumer. And basically, this is a concept which really teaches us how to look through the world of through the other people's eyes. And this is actually which ensures that you have a successful IP and a successful business strategy on the long term. So Hansgrohe is, again, over 100 years old company. So it's amazing how they can do it, and it's possible. Thank you.